पॉलिसी बाजार पर 1 करोड़ रुपए का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस केवल 450 रुपए महीने से शुरू। वाव!
Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. 6 years later, demonetization is valid, rules the Supreme Court. The majority verdict of a constitution bench says there were no flaws in decision making and a reasonable link between the demonetization announcement and stated objectives. However, a dissenting judge says the exercise of power was contrary to law. But the Supreme Court verdict is a major political win for the Modi government, as the Congress says the judgment doesn't validate the note ban. Dragged almost 13 kilometers for over an hour. An eyewitness followed on a bike called the cops 20 times. He describes what happened to NDTV. The new CCTV footage shows the inhuman act in detail. The car takes several U-turns. Was it a bid to shake off this young woman's body? The Home Minister intervenes, orders a special probe into this horror. 2 children are killed in a blast at the Rajouri terror strike. Just a day after the terror attack in the same home, a blast kills 2 children. The Lieutenant Governor is at the attack site to calm emotions as the Hindus here say they're being targeted. India's manufacturing index hits a 13-month high according to S&P Global, the biggest demand for fresh goods since February 2021. Fogged out. Dense fog expected to increase tomorrow across North India. Along with the fog will come a cold wave in Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Rajasthan. So plan your travel carefully. Japan cases are now touching nearly 2 lakhs a day. Still no reliable estimates from China. India cases continue to be under 300 a day, though they're up slightly. No major COVID concern, says the centre. And Hardik Pandya is back as T20 captain. Take a look at India's new look T20 team without the veterans. A lead story tonight, the major political win for the Modi government as the Supreme Court today upheld demonetization. In the majority verdict, Justice Gawai, who headed the bench, said there were no flaws in the decision-making process of demonetization. The majority verdict was that the centre can demonetize all series of banknotes, adding that there is an inbuilt safeguard under the RBI Act for demonetization and that the 52-day period for exchange of notes was not unreasonable. Justice Gawai also said that the RBI could not have directed banks to accept demonetized notes beyond a specific period, adding that there was a reasonable link between demonetization and stated objectives. However, a single judge did have a dissenting verdict. She said, Justice Nagaratna, that demonetization was beyond a pale of doubt well-intentioned. However, she added, the best intention and noble objects may not be under question. The measure may be regarded as unlawful only on a purely legal analysis, but it was an exercise of power, contrary to law and unlawful. The note ban could have been initiated through Act of Parliament, not by executive notification. And phrases like as desired by centre show there was no independent application of mind by the RBI. She added, status quo ante cannot be restored now since it was in 2016. The entire hearing and the verdict was live streamed today by the Supreme Court.
They have held that the modern trend.
A 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court has upheld the 2016 notes ban in a landmark 4-1 majority judgment and said it was not relevant whether the objective of the overnight ban had been achieved. Justice Nagaratna dissented, calling the move unlawful. Justice B.R. Gawai authored the majority opinion on behalf of himself, Justice Abdul Nazir, Justice Bopana and Justice Ramasubramaniam.
Decision-making process cannot be flawed merely because the procedure has emanated from the central government. We have considered the 4-pronged test held in modern dental education and whether there was a reasonable nexus of the measure with the purpose sought to be achieved, and we have held that there was a reasonable nexus. We have held that the action cannot be hit by the doctrine of proportionality. In the present case, the period provided is 52 days and therefore applying the principles laid therein, it cannot be said to be an unreasonable period.
The 4 judges, in their majority opinion, have answered all the 6 legal questions in the affirmative in favour of the government. The centre can demonetise all series of banknotes, the Supreme Court has ruled. There is an inbuilt safeguard under the RBI Act for the demonetisation exercise. No flaws in the decision-making process of demonetisation. There's a reasonable nexus between the measure of demonetisation with the stated objectives. The period specified for exchange of notes cannot be said to be unreasonable, and the RBI could not have directed banks to accept demonetised notes beyond the specific period. In a strong dissenting judgment, Justice B.V. Nagaratna called the notes ban vitiated and unlawful, but said status quo could not be restored now.
In my considered view, the action of demonetisation initiated by the central government by issuance of the Upheld notification dated 8 November 2016 was an exercise of power contrary to law and therefore unlawful.
Welcoming the verdict, BJP leader and former Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad welcomed the verdict.
राहुल गांधी जी से एक सवाल, आपने देश भर में जो कैंपेन किया नोटबंदी के खिलाफ, आप सॉरी बोलेंगे जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इसको सही माना?
The Congress has claimed it is the Prime Minister who should apologize.
अगर माफी मांगनी है किसी को, प्रधानमंत्री को मांगनी है। लाखों परिवारों की रोजगार गई और हमारे अर्थव्यवस्था पर जो नकारात्मक असर हुआ, आज भी हम भुगत रहे हैं।
Constitution bench of the Supreme Court in a 4:1 majority not just upheld the legality of the 2016 note ban, but has also said that there weren't any flaws in the decision-making process, providing a shot in the arm for the BJP-led government. With Pooja Arya, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
The Supreme Court today dismissed over 58 petitions which had been filed against demonetisation. Meanwhile, the other big story, the Home Minister has now intervened, ordering a probe into the tragic death, the horrific death of a young woman, Anjali, who was dragged for an hour under a car. The Home Minister has met top cops and said that said that it should be set up a special inquiry to look into her death, and the report should be given as soon as possible.
For almost 13 kilometers, 20-year-old Anjali dragged along under this Baleno car, driven by 5 New Year's Eve revelers high on alcohol. Today, residents of the neighborhood Sultanpuri in Outer Delhi vented their rage outside the Sultanpuri police station, vandalizing local MLA Rakhi Birlan's car. The 20-year-old girl, a resident of Aman Bihar, was returning home on a scooty after celebrating at Murthal on Delhi-Haryana border, when 5 young men in a Baleno car hit her, dragging her for many kilometers, taking many U-turns, her body almost totally crushed. An eyewitness who ran a dairy store on the road saw the car taking 3 U-turns in front of him. He says he chased the car for a while, making several calls to the police. The car passed through 4 police station areas: Sultanpuri, Vijay Vihar, Bhawana and Kanjavla, which means there should have been about 20 to 25 police patrol vans in the area.
मैं सोचता तब तक गाड़ी मेरी दुकान के सामने आ चुकी थी। मैंने दुकान के सामने आने के बाद देखा उसको, तो उसके नीचे डेड बॉडी फंसी हुई है। अच्छा। और डेड बॉडी ऊपर से नग्न अवस्था में थी, नीचे कुछ ब्लैक कलर का पहने हुए थे वो। जी। तो उस टाइम पहचान नहीं पाया वो लेडीज है, जेंट्स है या बच्चा बड़ा है, लेकिन ये शो होगा था कि डेड बॉडी है इसके नीचे। मैंने तभी 3:20 पे 112 नंबर डायल किया, मैम को बताया, सूचना दी, मैम ऐसे ऐसी बात से, और मैं कहा कोई डेड बॉडी है, बलेनो गाड़ी है, उसके नीचे फंसी हुई है और वो चलता जा रहा है, या तो उसको पता नहीं है या वो होश में नहीं है, कुछ भी है, वो चलता जा रहा है।
Police say the accused, now in custody for 3 days, have told them they were drunk and the music in the car was loud, so they did not realize they were dragging the girl.
क्योंकि गाड़ी का नंबर एग्जैक्ट हमारे पास नहीं था, तो सीसीटीवी के आधार पर उस नंबर को लोकेट किया गया, फिर टीम्स बनाई गई, एड्रेसेस ढूंढे गए, स्कूटी का जो एड्रेस था उस जो डिसीज्ड है उस को भी हमने एड्रेस को छानबीन की, और उसी के आधार पर जो स्विफ्ट एक्शन था, सभी के सभी जो अक्यूज्ड हैं वो पकड़े गए हैं, वो हमारी कस्टडी में हैं और उस पर फर्दर इन्वेस्टिगेशन जारी है। तमाम पहलुओं पर इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया जाएगा।
Meanwhile, the woman's family alleges the woman who was found half naked was raped. The Delhi police so far say they will only know for sure after the post-mortem report comes out tomorrow.
सर उसके साथ एक्सीडेंट हुआ, गलत भी करा उसके साथ, सब कुछ गलत भी करा के एक्सीडेंट में ना तो उसका शरीर हमें दिखाया जा रहा और एक भी कुछ तो कपड़ा मिलता, तन पे कपड़ा तक भी नहीं है सर, उसके एक भी तन पे कपड़ा नहीं है।
किस तरह की जांच की मांग कर रहे हैं आप लोग?
सर मुझे पूरी जांच चाहिए, बस इंसाफ की जांच।
Forensic teams have examined the crime spot, the scooty and the Baleno car. Sources say there was no sign of blood inside the car, but they have collected samples from the undercarriage. With Mukesh Singh, Bureau Report, NDTV.
The tragedy of that mother asking for justice for her daughter. Moving to other news, well, the targeted killings in Jammu and Kashmir's Rajouri, the horror increased today because a blast took place in the same area where the terror attack happened yesterday. In the blast, 2 children have been killed.
The Jammu and Kashmir LG appealing for calm in Rajouri's Dangri village. A day after the second targeted attack on families in the area. 2 children are among the dead. In a terrorist blast outside the home of Deepak Kumar, who had been shot dead just hours earlier, along with 3 others. 9 people were also injured in Sunday night's shooting and 5 in the blast that followed. Massive protests have broken out following the second attack.
ये सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज का फेलियर है। कल रात को वहाँ पे टेररिस्ट अटैक होता है, उसके बाद वहाँ पे सर्च क्यों नहीं की जाती? इस प्रकार का सिक्योरिटी लैप्स आज जो बच्चों की जाने गई हैं, उनका जिम्मेवार कौन है?
The police and the army say they will track down attackers soon. Rajouri in Jammu province was almost free from militancy for 20 years. But for the last year, terror attacks are making a comeback. In August, there was a major terrorist attack on an army camp. 5 soldiers were killed. And this is the second incident of civilian killing in Rajouri in the last 2 weeks. 2 civilians were killed on December 16 outside an army camp.
बहुत ही दर्दनाक हमले के ऊपर हमला, जिसमें छोटे छोटे बच्चे और महिलाओं को यहाँ निशाना बनाया गया, मानवता का, इंसानियत का कत्ल।
देखिए, ये बहुत ही दुख की बात है कि आतंकवाद अभी भी इस रियासत में चल रहा है, बेगुनाहों को मारा जा रहा है।
Targeted attacks have already taken a toll on Kashmir. For last 7 months, thousands of employees, Kashmiri Pandits and employees from Jammu are not attending their duties in the valley because of fear. They are protesting in Jammu. As militancy is widening its footprint to areas in Jammu province, targeted attack in Rajouri is only accentuating problem for the government. In Srinagar, Nazir Masoodi for NDTV.
Is it a bid there to prevent elections in Jammu and Kashmir? The government has maintained that they are hoping to hold elections in the states as soon as possible, in the union territories as soon as possible. Moving to other news, well, manufacturing sector activity has grown to a 13-month high in December. The manufacturing index rising to 57.8 in December versus 55.7 in November, according to S&P Global. They're saying the demand resilience boosted sales growth in December, and international demand for Indian goods has also improved, adding this is the fastest rise in new orders since February 2021. Well, let's take a look at the markets now. Well, they've begun 2023 marginally higher, with the Sensex gaining 327 points, the Nifty gaining 92 points. Metal shares surged the most today. However, news also coming in today of the IMF chief warning that 1/3 of the world will face recession this year. Well, a quick look at other news. A conversation is released today by the Congress between Congress leader Rahul Gandhi and politician and actor Kamal Hassan. In this, Rahul Gandhi says he sees a huge opportunity for India to overtake China as the world's producer of goods.
Frankly, there's no one who can compete with China. I do not believe that on production, on as far as the economics is concerned, I do not believe that the West can take on the Chinese. I believe that India can take on the Chinese. We have the population, we have the people. What do you need to take on the Chinese? You need a young population, you need large numbers of people, you need a large educated base.
Compared to China, our population is younger.
Exactly, right? And if you see the West, right, and you know, this might be a bit controversial, but they've got too much, they're flabby. They're living in opulence. They live on,
they are outsourced.
And they outsource, right? Whereas our people, they know what a struggle is. They understand difficulty. So I think as an Indian person, I see a huge opportunity for India to become, like China, the producer of the world.
West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee today launched a new campaign for the Trinamool ahead of the Panchayat polls due in April in this year. This is an outreach campaign called Didi Suraksha Kavach.
দুয়ারে সরকারের মতো এবার মানুষের দরজায় তৃণমূল কংগ্রেস, যেটা হচ্ছে ওরা নাম দিয়েছে সুরক্ষা কবচ, এবং আমি মনে করি যে এটা হচ্ছে মোটোটা ভিশনটা হচ্ছে তাই। এবং অভিষেক বলেছে 3.5 লক্ষ কর্মীরা আমাদের 2 কোটি বাড়ি কভার করবে, 10 কোটি মানুষের বাড়ি কভার করবে, 2 কোটি ফ্যামিলি। কাজেই এটা একটা বড় কাজ। হয়তো এটা হতে পারে কোনো বাড়ির একটি লোক হয়তো অ্যাপ্লিকেশনটা করতেই জানে না, তাকে সাহায্য করে বলতে হবে গিয়ে যে আসুন আপনার অ্যাপ্লিকেশনটা আমি করে দিচ্ছি, আর এর জন্য কোনো পয়সা কড়ি লাগবে না। বিএসকে কেন্দ্র আমরা চালু করেছি নতুন করে প্রত্যেকটা ব্লকে ব্লকে। সেই বিএসকে কেন্দ্রগুলোতে মানুষের যে কোনো সময় যে কোনো প্রবলেম মানুষ রেজিস্টার করতেই পারে, এবং এটা পয়সা দিয়ে কিন্তু নয়, বিনা পয়সায় মানুষকে সুবিধা দিতে হবে। এবং সেই জন্য কম্পিউটার জানা ছেলে মেয়েদের নিয়েই বিএসকে কেন্দ্রগুলো করা হয়েছে, আগামী দিন আরো বেশি করে করা হবে।
The BJP has responded saying that Mamata Banerjee can launch new schemes, but it won't change the outcome of the next elections. Let's just go across to what's happening with COVID globally. So China continuing to witness an explosion of COVID cases according to media reports, but no confirmation from the Chinese government. This as COVID cases in Japan are spiking over 1.94 lakh daily cases. South Korea also seeing over 57,000 daily cases, and the US has gone down. It's now over 6,000 daily COVID cases. Well, let's just go across to what the deaths are. Well, again, remember, we have no official data from China. The deaths in Japan are up as well. They're now 539 a day. In South Korea, 63. The US has come down at 13. The good news with India's COVID situation is that it's very much still under 300 a day. In the last 24 hours, there have been 263 cases, though that's up. It's still very manageable. Deaths are 1. That's down from the day before. Tests are also down, but of course, this has been the weekend, and vaccinations are also down from the day before. If you're planning to travel tomorrow morning in North India, think again, because dense fog is likely to worsen tomorrow across the north, especially in the plains in Punjab and Uttar Pradesh, as well as Delhi, the National Capital Region, Haryana and Rajasthan. The visibility will reduce rapidly post midnight tonight, and the weather department predicts that there will be cold wave plus cold day conditions till the 4th of January.